Dr. Chuck, the science schmuck.
Synchronize. So, I've got a problem. I have a lot of problems. I solve each and every one using the liberal application of science. The problem in this case is I'm fat. You can't really tell that because cameras subtract, I don't know, 80 pounds, but I am quite fat. And this problem has been brewing for some time. It's because I wear this lab coat, you can't exactly see it, but a demonstration may be in order. As you can see, I'm fat. And this is the interesting trick. This is a neat magic trick I can do. Apparently this is kind of unusual to people. Now I'm fat. Now I don't know exactly what that is or how I'm doing that, other than it hurts. But yeah, fat. I think it has to do with pressurizing my lungs in a downward direction. Probably isn't where your lungs should be. But it actually does cause a certain problem. That problem being that my gut impinges upward upon my lungs, making it hard to breathe. The two are actually two separate body cavities separated by the diaphragm. So above that is the thoracic cavity, below that's the perineal cavity. Your guts are mostly down here, your lungs and heart are up here. Your esophagus actually runs through a hole in the diaphragm to get to your stomach, which is on the lower side. So that's basically ribs up is lungs, heart, mediastinum, like lungs are about here. Heart is almost exactly in the center. Diaphragm is at the bottom of the ribs. Then it's stomach, spleen. It's kind of like back there. There's the duodenum, intestine, appendix. And then you go up through the transverse colon down to the sigmoid colon to the out. There's also a bladder and kidneys, but they're kind of in a weird place. Like the kidneys are super far in the back, and the bladder's kind of down there somewhere. Don't really know where the human bladder is. Never really figured that out. I studied, got to the kidneys, and then I'm like, medical school's no fun. But the problem is, I'm too full of fat. I in fact weigh, at present, now I'm not going to know this in kilograms, about 215 pounds. I determined that using my trusty scale that I bought at Goodwill, which I will be using to check my progress over the next, I don't know how long this will take. It's actually 15 pounds off, so you have to add 15 pounds, but I don't think it's linear, so it's close enough. It looked like that roughly when I bought it. So I was pretty hesitant to put my feet on it for a while, but then I stopped caring when I got fat and old. But how to go about this, you say? Well, isn't losing weight hard? No, because I've done it before. It was not pleasant, but it was not difficult. The key is science. So, what is weight gain and weight loss? I drew a diagram on this piece of wood that I forgot I even had. So, ignore this part first. Well, that's an awkward position for me to sit in, but I think you can see that. Pretty much, food contains kilocalories, or in America, you just call them calories with a big C. What is a kilocalorie or food calorie? A food calorie is the ability, well, let's phrase this in terms of energetics. Oh, mold. A food calorie is 1,000 little c calories, which are a standard metric unit of measuring energy. They essentially measure heat. Specifically, the amount of energy as heat it takes to raise, in a food calorie sense, 1 kilogram of water, which is 1 liter of water, 1 degree Celsius. It's an amount of energy. Like you could say, oh, a battery has, well, technically a battery does have calories. You shouldn't eat it, but it does have energy that could be measured in calories. I don't know, it'd be like milliamps per hour times voltage, so like V voltage amps? I don't know what, I'm not an electrical engineer. I do this stuff. Not really, I'm not a dietitian, so we're making this up as I go along. Pretty much, the amount of food that goes in has to equal the amount of energy that comes out. And that controls how fat you are. So, the amount of fat you have is related to the amount of energy that's contained within your body. Now, how much energy is in fat? Well, that's a good question. It's about 3,600 calories per kilogram? I think, maybe it might be pound. I think it's pound, yeah, 3,600 calories per pound. How do we know that? People are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. That can't be real. That doesn't, no, it's bomb calorimetry. So a bomb calorimeter is a device in which you can put an object, or anything. You can put this pen in here, you can put the handle of this in, you can put this block in, you can put anything combustible, you put in the bomb calorimeter, and the bomb calorimeter is full of a volume of water that's known, about a liter, and you flush whatever's in there with oxygen, light it on fire, and then you measure the change in temperature of the water. And that determines how much energy was in there, because like I said, energy can be converted directly to heat. So a gram of fat has such a number of degrees that come out of it. And we can back calculate that this much fat in a person, knowing what constituent that fat is, it's basically just saturated fats and some other stuff, we know that if you were to burn that in an oven, like combust it, it would have this much energy. And that correlates to the amount of energy you eat. Which is kind of an interesting thing, is when you burn calories, where do they go? And that's something that should be pretty obvious, but it's not. You think, oh, where does it go? If you lose 10 pounds, where did those 10 pounds go? They didn't just fall off and walk away. They didn't slide off and hide under your kitchen table. In medieval times, like if you read Hamlet, I think there's a reference to it in there, they believed that when you sweat, the sweat is fat melting and coming out of your pores. That's not actually correct. Sweat is produced by a sweat gland. It's salty water that your body excretes to evaporate. It's not grease. Although, I did go to the dermatologist once, and he told me I was a very, very greasy boy. Hence this appearance. But, where does it actually go? The answer in my diagram is heat and energy that you use to live your life, and that, CO2, carbon dioxide. What is fat? I think I've actually gone over this when I was talking about polymerizing boiled linseed oil. Human fat is saturated fat. I'm getting covered in mold. Basically carbon, 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 and then an OC glycerol. So it actually holds 3 of these. This is way shorter than what you would actually find in a human. It's basically carbon and hydrogen. Big, long chains of that. That's what the fat is actually made of, and that's where the energy is stored. The body breaks those carbons off to generate energy. Burns them, similar in oxygen, totally different chemical than you would light in a fire, but similar. You breathe oxygen, you exhale carbon dioxide, because you're taking those carbons, snapping them off. The hydrogen comes off as water, and that just leaves you as like urine or sweat or gas of some sort if you transpirate like a plant. The carbon gets converted into carbon dioxide, goes through your blood. It's dissolved in your blood, not in the red blood cells. It's just sort of there as bicarbonate. And then it gets to your lungs and you exhale it. So quite literally, when you lose weight, you are exhaling it through your lungs. The weight of the carbon dioxide you expel is the weight of the carbon plus some oxygen. So it's not an exact because the oxygen is outside. All the weight you lose has to come out your air holes. That sounds like a lot, but not quite really, because this balance has a human in the middle. And if you've ever looked at the back of a cereal box, I've looked at the back of a lot of cereal boxes, that's why I'm fat, it's pretty well understood that your average human, such as me, supposedly, consumes 2,000 calories per day in terms of ordinary energy consumption. And that's not, oh, I ran and exercised for 2,000. That's, you woke up, I'm yelling, I can't hear myself. You woke up, you went downstairs, you watched TV, you did an ordinary day of doing nothing strenuous, just sort of sat there. Ordinary person burns about 2,000 calories doing that. Just keeping the neurons in your brain polarized, keeping your heart beating, your lungs running, your kidneys functioning, just walking around a little bit. It's about 2,000 calories just to stay alive, on average. Some people burn more, some people burn less. If you're big and muscular, you tend to burn more because those muscles have a basal metabolic level. If you are very good at sitting still, probably less. It's also weight-based and size-based. But the point being, if that is equal, the amount that goes in and the amount that comes out is equal, your weight will not change. If the amount that goes in is large and the amount that comes out is small, you get fatter. It gets converted into body fat. If the amount that goes in is smaller than the amount that goes out, you lose weight. That's the ins and outs of it, the basic simple physics of it. It's just math. That is all you need to lose weight, is just do that. Have the amount of energy that goes into you be less than the amount that comes out. And that sounds very simple, but as anyone can tell you, it's not actually that simple. Except it is that simple. The problem is, it's still mold, and it's giving me issues, but I'll just leave it there. The problem being, that's weirdly hard to accomplish. Why is it then that we don't just suddenly lose weight? The answer is because your body doesn't want to. And it's not a want in like your brain wants, it's that your body is designed to hold weight and control caloric restriction. So if you eat less, your body can recognize, oh, there's less calories, and it can actually drop your basal metabolic level down. And let's just decrease this. You're using 2,000 calories, we're going to drop it to 1,500. We're going to drop it to 800. You're just going to not burn any calories just doing ordinary daily stuff. And that means that even if you go on a diet, you don't really lose weight necessarily. Because your body just says, you're living your daily life, just eating less. I'm just going to lower the amount of calories I use. You're not going to burn anything. And that's why it's often very difficult to lose weight. Then add to that, your body's still hungry. It's like, hey, I'm forcing me to lower the calories in this thing down to 1,500 a day. I shouldn't have to do that. Go eat more. Get it up to 2,000. Eat 4,000 a day. And it's not good. It's not easy to do that. Exercise helps. So this is going into my basic plan. My plan is to decrease the amount of calories going into me and maintain the same level of calories going out. Now, I have a pretty ordinary exercise routine that I do every day. Did it today in 4 inches, 6 inches of snow. I do, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and I know you're supposed to run 10K, but I don't really have time for it, so I just do the 3K. 5K? Yeah, I run 3 miles, which is why my hair is thinning, but slowly. It hasn't fallen out yet. That burns probably about 120 calories, which doesn't sound like a lot, because it isn't. Actually, ordinary person who weighs about 170 pounds running a mile, or walking a mile, it burns the same amount of calories, because it's the same distance. It's just a matter of how fast you burn them. And that is what causes the discomfort of running it. 1 mile burns about 100 calories for an ordinary person. So 3 miles, which is a okay distance, I mean, generally you should be able to probably run about 2 miles at a slow pace, not up a hill, without really getting out of breath. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, unless you have like a medical condition or you're old. And I'm old, I'm 42? But anyway, you can even walk it. It's the same calories. It shouldn't be too big of a deal. In my case, it was a big deal when I started. It's a lot less of a deal like 3 years later of doing that just about every single day, except when it's raining too excessively or I'm not here. That burns about 300 to 350 calories every day, added on to my baseline level of somewhere around 2,000. So that's forces you to burn calories. You can't not burn calories when you're exercising. Your body can't say, oh, you ran a mile, but I'm only going to let you burn 50 calories, not the whole 100. No, you went the distance, it's forced to burn the amount of energy it takes to go to the distance. My car can't decide, oh, I'm only going to use half the gasoline to go to work today. It doesn't work like that. So, into the actual plan I have to make me lose weight. And this is going to be a little weird, but my hypothesis is that I can restrict my diet economically. In other words, reduce my weekly food budget to $10. And this may seem absurd, and if it does, it's because you haven't lived in America where food basically grows on trees. Not this time of year, but during the spring it did. Don't eat the black ones. That tree is a privet and they taste like death. I actually did find some nice red ones growing on a mountain the other day. They tasted like wintergreen, because that's what they were. But $10 a week for food, I don't go out to eat, so it doesn't really cost that much. That's not a huge amount. I originally developed this from something I did back in graduate school. This back when they were considering doubling my taxes. I created a plan to see if I could live on the amount of money that somebody gets on food stamps, which I had assumed to be $5 a week. So $20 a month on food did work. I was able to keep it up for maybe 3 or 4 months. I have no memory of what happened during the time. And my teeth came out of alignment from like early stage scurvy, and they're sort of back where they're supposed to be now. Also, I lost 40 pounds. So it does work. It was unpleasant. So I'm making a modification. That's what the other diagram on this is. This. What is this? It's a plant. What is a plant? It's a thing that grows from the ground. My logic is I can spend $10 a week on food, which actually amounts to $40 a month. I can redistribute the amount of money. Like if I spend $5 this week, I can spend $15 next week if I want to. But things that have no calories don't count as food. Doesn't have calories, it's not food. So I can buy all the diet soda I want. Doesn't contribute to that bill. I can get coffee in the coffee grounds that you get like a Folgers or something. Doesn't count. It's not food. No calories. Plants, fruits and vegetables, don't have calories. Even if they do, they don't. Nobody ever got fat off of eating apples. Nobody ever got fat off of lettuce, spinach, carrots. Plants, fruits and vegetables, I can buy as much as I want. They don't contribute to the $10 a month. This was the problem I had last time, is that it restricted my ability to eat healthy foods, so I just ended up eating a lot of really cheap, high-calorie foods, which didn't really help with the nutrient issue. This allows me to spend $10 a month on, or $10 a week. $10 a month would be very small. $10 a week on, that's your flour, your occasional pasta, some rice-a-roni, beans, the calorific foods that you eat. But plants don't count towards that. And this is important. A vegetable is defined by the part of the plant in this process that grows above the ground. So stems, leaves, fruits, flowers, all that is a vegetable. Doesn't have calories. Don't care. I know a banana has 100 calories. Bananas don't have any calories. I can eat as many. Nobody ever got fat off of eating bananas. You find someone who got fat off of eating bananas, that guy must eat a lot of bananas. That's impressive. Or if I got fat off of bananas, I'd be like touring the country like, yeah, I eat like 100 of these an hour. The part that grows on the bottom is more mysterious. I'm not going to consider those vegetables, even though they are. Mainly because I don't eat carrots. They give me a headache for some reason. So carrots would be an exception potentially, but the idea is you can't consider potatoes a vegetable because they're too starchy and they have a lot of calories. Sweet potatoes, they're a vegetable, but I'm going to consider them not a vegetable in this case because you can only eat, like, things are beeping everywhere. Don't know if you heard that. So just the stuff that grows above the ground is free. I'm not literally free. I still have to pay for it, but it doesn't count to my budget, which means I can eat vegetables all I want, and I can get, for $10, I could get a ton of beans. That's what I eat anyway. It's just beans and coffee. And I think that should stabilize the amount of food that I eat, which should allow my weight to return roughly to normal in a safe and nutritious way. Considering that my exercise is consistent, I would expect to lose probably, I already lost 5 pounds, but that was just sodium and, the food leaving my digestive system. I would expect that within a couple months I could eventually get down to, well, I don't know, we'll see. And the basic theory behind sort of what I'm going with is I grew up in the 90s. I remember the old food pyramid when it actually meant something. And you were supposed to eat that giant bottom slice of pure bread. In actuality, the bottom half of the food pyramid is fruits and vegetables. Above that you have your beans, whole grains, probably a little bit, and that sort of thing. And maybe proteins, like eggs. I eat eggs, I'm not vegan. Milk, not a vegan. I drink a lot of milk. So I'm going to put that actually the next level up of animal-based products, which is real skinny. And then the top is whatever else there is. I don't know, bread and... I don't eat meat not because I'm a vegetarian. That's probably a reason why my diet is relatively straightforward. I don't eat meat generally because it's really, really expensive. And frankly, I can't afford it. I don't make a lot of YouTube money at the moment. Someday I'll be a YouTuber so big I can afford, like, what meat do people eat? Liver? I don't know. I've never been rich enough to actually afford meat. I know in other countries that's a thing where you eat meat. In America, you can't really afford it unless you're rich, at least to my knowledge. So I don't trust meat because the way I eat involves a lot of decomposing food, and I can eat that fine. Vegetables won't usually poison me. But you can't leave chicken out for like 3 weeks and then not cook it and eat it and expect to survive. And I don't like that about chicken. Also, I don't trust chickens. Even the silky ones, as adorable as they are, I don't trust them. They'll come get you. Ducks are even worse. Ducks. They make you think they're separate from geese. They're just small geese. Despite that, so this video actually is totally pointless and probably boring to you. I'm just explaining basically how dieting works, but a way that I think I, knowing myself and how I operate, can 1, save money, 2, increase my vegetable consumption, something I've been working on doing, and 3, reach a more healthy weight with a goal of, I don't know, let's say 190 to start with. That'd be a loss. Like right now I weigh about 215, so that's like 20 pounds, which just seems big, but I mean, listen, unfortunately this video won't just cut to me losing weight. I actually have to work on it. Maybe by July. So we'll see how that goes. And without showing you anything especially interesting, extra.